yeah, we get the fetish crowd and we get the Doomsday Clock crowd.
Yeah.
And
But there's
whatever.
a lot of overlap because they like shit.
Well, there's Chad's opinion.
Wow.
And mine's
Nailed it.
And no, that was great. And mine's on the site. So Alex's is the only one that the listeners may not know yet.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
And if you defend this book, so fucking help me.
Oh man, this is it's gonna be so. Okay, so first of all, Doomsday Clock. It's basically after Rebirth special, after that Button special. It's the Watchmen stuff going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
sure is.
It's a comic book.
Yeah.
And I bought it.
Do you have feelings about it? Do you have feelings about paying $4.99 for this?
I do. Actually, I paid $5.99. I got a lenticular cover.
Oh my god!
Fuck you, Alex.
You have a fucking problem, Alex.
Sorry.
All right. Yeah. So
I'm an alcoholic, and you're a lenticular cover alcoholic.
I'm a Oh man, I think mine's much more damaging. And that's a word. Good job, Chad. Okay, so it's like the Watchmen comic book, but without the soul of the Watchmen comic book, and it nails the tone really well. The art is great. I don't really have many, I can't be like, oh well, this was bad. I think it's written quite well. I think what's going on is, it's all right, but it never really reaches anywhere. And then, the only interesting thing is, guy with question mark on his face. It's a different guy, but it's the same guy. But I don't really care. And the only part that interested me was the Superman part, because I feel like it's easily the best part of the book, and it's the closest this book has to having a soul. So,
yeah. By the time I got there, I was already really angry. So
yeah, that'll that's why I always flip through books to see if there's any Aquaman in it, and I saw Superman, so I read from there. So
I'm gonna say I think this is the most creatively bankrupt and dishonest thing Jeff Johns has ever written in his life. And I'm actually upset that Jeff Johns wrote this, and that Jeff Johns thought it was okay to write this, because it is the most cynical comic I've ever read. It is just, hey, you fuckers like Watchmen, right? What if we fucking did Watchmen, but a sequel? And then at the same time, the entire the ethos of this comic is just emulating Watchmen, which is that's bad for a plethora of reasons, because it has I don't understand what the point of it is, but it also emulates Watchmen poorly by misunderstanding the source material, because it reads like how every edgelord comic book reader interprets Watchmen, which is as this gritty guide for what superhero comics should be, when it's not. So there's extended scenes of violence in this comic that are frankly kind of disturbing, and Jeff Johns and Gary Frank kind of feel like they're reveling in that violence, and look how fucking cool we are. Look what we got past DC editorial. We managed to put prison rape in this book, right? And that's not what Watchmen is. That's not the ethos of Watchmen. The ethos of Watchmen is that it's a vision of superheroes gone wrong, and it tells a compelling story in that paradigm. But this, while it resembles that world in some ways, it's just such a massive disservice to the source material in a lot of the same ways that I think the film is, because it looks at it and goes, hey, you know what people like about Watchmen? They liked that it was gritty. They liked the style of Watchmen, which I don't think that this does a particularly good job of emulating. I think the coloring is not particularly great, but they saw that and they go, people like the grittiness and they like the violence, and that's all. And it condenses Watchmen down into just that. When there's so much more to Watchmen. Watchmen is compelling because it has a depth, and because it has a core in the center of two characters who are people. And this doesn't have that until the very end when we see Superman. But by that point, I was just so fucking done with this book's cynical garbage. And it's just, and I don't get mad about comics that often. Like sometimes I'll like do it for a goof or something on this show or like when I'm writing a review. But usually I'm not actually that upset because it's a fucking comic book. But this, like, I was livid when I finished reading this. I was just like ready to go off, which is why it took me so long to put the review together, because it was very hard for me to write a review that did not in some way like disparage the creators in ways that were like that I don't think are acceptable. But it's just so upsetting to me that DC thinks that this is okay, that Jeff Johns thinks this is okay, that Gary Frank thinks that this is okay, that it's just okay to use these characters that they really shouldn't own, but do because they fucked over Moore and Dave Gibbons in the 80s. I don't know. I'm sorry for taking up so much time just kind of ranting about it. But like I said, it's just upsetting on a very like kind of fundamental level as somebody who enjoys comics and enjoys Watchmen, and well at the same time acknowledging that the impact that Watchmen has had on comics is largely negative. And I think that this is the perfect example of that, because either people don't understand Watchmen or they think that the audience is stupid enough that they don't understand Watchmen.
Yeah,
you should write an essay about
bad.
that.
Yeah, I think it's something you should, or at least something on the site, some sort of.
I've been